Dear friends, welcome to another episode in the fantastic military world. In this video, we'll talk about the French Foreign Legion and the role it could play in Ukraine if France decides to send soldiers to that country. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, do so now and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. At the end of February, during a meeting in Paris among Ukraine's main allies, French President Emmanuel Macron surprised the world by saying that to ensure Russia's defeat, allies cannot dismiss any hypothesis, including even sending soldiers to Ukraine. Since the beginning of Western support for Ukraine's defense, Kyiv's allies have been cautious not to escalate the conflict further, with the biggest fear being that the war could spill over Ukraine's borders and spread throughout Europe. One way the allies found to avoid this was not by sending soldiers in large numbers, but rather by allowing the participation of individuals not officially connected to Western armed forces, always on a volunteer basis. Therefore, when Macron mentioned that this possibility could not be ruled out, the world was both surprised and apprehensive. Although the French president assured that if this happens, those soldiers would not be sent to the front line but to the rear, for training missions, air defense operations, and border security, especially with Belarus, there is, for now, nothing certain or definitive regarding this possibility. However, as more officials and top members of various governments discuss it, if France does move forward with this action, which soldiers will Macron send to Ukraine? As previously mentioned, there is absolutely nothing official about this at the moment. However, whenever this topic is debated, the name of the French Foreign Legion is often mentioned. The French Foreign Legion has a long history dating back to March 1831 when it was created within the French Army in Africa, a unit dedicated to ensuring French domains on that continent. At that time, a rule already existed in France that prevented foreigners from serving in its armed forces. As the French faced a severe shortage of men to fight for their African domains, the idea emerged to create a unit that would allow the inclusion of foreigners, thus giving birth to the Foreign Legion. The first members mainly came from Switzerland and Germanic regiments but quickly began to attract men from various parts of the world, thanks to a unique characteristic of this unit, the complete disregard for the candidate's past, even to the point of forbidding the use of the candidate's real name, who was forced to present themselves with a pseudonym. However, despite the ease of entry and the possibility of a fresh start after a life of abuse and deviations, the conditions were terrible, with soldiers exposed to temperatures close to 50 OC during the day, and that could drop below zero at night. They were also thrown into terribly demanding battles, which often resulted in very high casualty rates. In the 20th century, the Foreign Legion distinguished itself during World War I, limiting itself in World War II to a much more discreet participation, mainly in Norway, Syria, and North Africa. After the end of that war, the Foreign Legion began to be modernized, with one of the first steps involving updating its admission rules, which included, from 2010, the requirement of presenting official documents or at least a so-called declared identity. With the legionnaire required after 1 year to present official identity documents to continue serving in the unit, the Foreign Legion is today a very modern unit, composed of approximately 9,000 military personnel from 140 countries. Interested candidates must present themselves at a Legion Information Center, where they stay for a period of 3 to 5 days. Then, they are transferred to Paris, where medical exams are conducted and a 5-year service contract is signed. After signing the contract, the selection process begins, which can last up to 30 days, during which the recruit undergoes medical, psychological, and physical tests. If they pass this stage, the recruit enters the Legion as a trainee, beginning their 5-year service period. After 3 years, if they have an impeccable service record, they can apply for French citizenship. However, if they are wounded in combat, they can immediately receive French citizenship through a process known as French by spilled blood. As an elite unit of the French army, training is constant and always very demanding, with the military specializing in fields such as infantry, cavalry, engineering, and parachuting. Due to their extreme physical and psychological preparation, as well as their high level of readiness, the Foreign Legion is the unit France typically sends on difficult and very urgent missions. Therefore, in the case of Ukraine, if France does end up sending soldiers, many believe these soldiers will be legionnaires. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any news, criticisms, ideas, or suggestions. You can leave them in the comments.